As instructors, we often think about what we want to teach our students, specifically the content and material we want them to understand. However, we spend less time thinking about how we should teach it to them, let alone why we think we should teach it to them in that way.
In this video, we'll go over how to design courses that fit your teaching style. To guide you, we will present you course design frameworks, introduce factors that affect course design, and prompt you with questions to reflect on.
Let's begin by considering the common course design process. First, an instructor selects text and places course content at the center of the course. Then, they think about the lectures and activities they will need to deliver. Finally, since grades need to be assigned, they implement the traditional assessment trifecta: a midterm, a paper, and a final exam. This process is so common that it often remains unquestioned, yet it can lead to two problems. We call these the twin sins of traditional design. Both sins focus on teaching rather than learning. The first sin is coverage-oriented design. This involves instructors lecturing, covering topics, or going chapter by chapter in a textbook and moving on regardless of whether students understand or are able to apply what was presented. In the second sin, activity-oriented design, students engage in activities and learning experiences. These may be fun and interesting, but their learning purpose is often unclear. In this way, activity-oriented design is hands-on without being minds-on. In both cases, students do not know the what and why of their learning.
In order to avoid these twin sins, instructors must ask themselves, what is our objective in designing this course? How will students demonstrate their learning? And what if we designed the class interactively with learners in mind? This is an opportunity for instructors to question course elements and be purposeful for what elements are included in courses, whether texts, activities, or assignments. These questions are at the core of backward design, a process that encourages instructors to focus on outcomes, what students take away from a course, rather than the elements teachers put into courses. By designing with the end in mind, instructors design learning experiences and assessments tailored to student learning objectives. This encourages intentionality for instructors and lends itself for transparency, which helps motivate students.
To better understand backwards design, consider Wiggins and McTighe's three-stage approach to planning backward. Step 1 is to identify desired results. Step 2 is to determine acceptable evidence, and Step 3 is to plan learning experiences and instruction. Let's explore each of these stages in more depth. In Stage 1, identify desired results, instructors clarify priorities by articulating learning objectives for a course. To figure out their learning objectives, instructors should ask themselves the following questions. What should students know, understand, and be able to do by the end of this course? And what are crucial takeaways for students? During Stage 2, determine acceptable evidence, instructors must decide what evidence will demonstrate that students have achieved the outcomes articulated in Stage 1. In this stage, instructors should determine an assessment plan, as well as a variety of assessment methods for gathering evidence. It's crucial to remember that assessment is more than just a means for generating grades. Rather, it's a critical step towards ensuring students achieve learning outcomes. Questions to guide Stage 2 include, how will you know students achieve the desired results? What assessments, tasks, and evidence will guide instruction? And what criteria will be used to evaluate students' performance?
Once an assignment plan is in place, instructors can move on to Stage 3, planning learning experiences and instruction. But this step is all about determining what will be needed for students to achieve the desired results. This includes content and activities for students, as well as methods of teaching specific to the given learning objectives. To implement Stage 3, instructors should ask themselves, what knowledge, concepts, and skills will students need in order to perform effectively? And what method of instruction and student activities will best lead to the acquisition of this knowledge and skill? These three stages of backward design are widely applied in K-12 education. Think built upon these ideas to create an integrated approach to significant learning for higher education. There are 3 strategies to help instructors implement this holistic approach: creating rich learning experiences, finding new and exciting ways to introduce content, and promoting reflection on the learning process itself. Fink's framework is similar to the stages of backward design, except there is one additional step for instructors: evaluating the specific situational factors that will impact course design prior to embarking on these stages. In this initial step, instructors reflect on 4 factors affecting design. 1. The teaching and learning context. 2. The characteristics of the learners. 3. The principles of learning. And 4. The characteristics of themselves, the instructor. Teaching and learning context involves factors related to the course itself, such as the number of students enrolled, the course level, the duration and frequency of class sessions, and the elements of the course environment, whether that be in person, hybrid, or online.
Next, instructors should consider the characteristics of their learners. These include learners' goals and expectations, prior knowledge and experiences, and their life situations. By considering students holistically, course design can be more effectively tailored to their wants and needs. In addition to knowing who their students are, it's important for instructors to consider how learning works by reflecting on the principles of learning. Remember that prior knowledge can help or hinder learning, that the organization of knowledge affects how learners apply that knowledge, and that motivation is what determines, directs, and sustains learning. Finally, instructors must practice self-reflection and take a critical look at their characteristics and experiences as an instructor. Instructors should ask themselves, what beliefs and values do I have about teaching and learning? What experiences do I have teaching this or a similar course? And what are my teaching strengths and weaknesses? We hope you enjoyed the first part of our lecture on course design. In part 2 of Backwards Design, we will discuss common mistakes to avoid when utilizing this course design framework.
We look forward to seeing how you apply the tools and skills taught here to design more intentional, learner-centered digital education content.